Thunderbolts just came out. You ready to go see it? Hey y'all, thank you so much for stopping by to watch me draw and talk about some stuff. Today's topic will be Marvel Studios' Thunderbolts. Going right out the gate, I thought it was by far probably the best thing that Marvel's made in a pretty long time, at least since Spider-Man No Way Home. And in terms of just like standalone film quality, this was probably better than Spider-Man No Way Home. And I kind of got the vibe that it was going to be a little better. Like looking at the trailers, it immediately had my attention. It doesn't have like that normal Marvel movie look. And what I mean by that is that it doesn't have like this very gray corporate look. It's kind of got its own little feel. Like it looks dirty, it looks kind of grimy. Obviously it still looks cleaner than most movies that you would see, but for a Marvel movie, it's got its own visual style that looks pretty different from everything else that's come out lately. And I thought the story was good. I thought the character work was great. It's really refreshing to see kind of the Marvel universe start to bring more characters together, and this is what Marvel has always been really good at, is taking some characters that nobody really knows that great, making them really likable, put them on a team together, and you don't really watch these movies for the plot. You watch it a lot just to hang out with some characters that you have been shown that you like several times over. And that is what Marvel has been really hurting for lately, and I'm glad to see that we have at least one team now that has some really solid people in it, that if I go to watch the new Avengers movies, I will definitely be there, if not for anybody else, for the Thunderbolts. So if these characters are what makes this movie work so well, I guess it'd be wise to just go through one by one and talk about each one of them. Taskmaster should be the first one I mention. Big spoiler alert. Taskmaster has about a minute of screen time before she is shot in the head and not in the rest of the movie at all. And it's kind of funny how they make a big deal out of Taskmaster and all the marketing and make it look like she's going to be a part of this movie just for her to die really soon. I guess they were playing that up for kind of shock value. That's kind of odd. I'm not sure why they did that. I kind of forgot she was in the movie until I had to go back and do some research to make the video. Yelena in this movie is definitely what you would consider the main character, and I gotta be honest, I've liked Yelena in every single movie she's been in or TV show. She was really fun in the Black Widow movie. She was really awesome in the Hawkeye TV show, and in this, she's just as good, if not better. I would venture to say that Florence Pugh is probably one of the biggest talents Marvel has right now, and Yelena is probably one of the most generally liked characters that Marvel has currently. I like that this movie has themes, which is really strange. Normally these movies are kind of just like big thrill rides, but this one has some pretty good exploration of themes of like depression and just sadness, and that's really refreshing to see. And it's not handled in a very on the nose way. It's pretty nuanced for a Marvel movie, like I said. And I like that the movie opens up with the whole sequence of Yelena kind of breaking into somewhere, stealing something, destroying evidence for Valentina, and the entire time she doesn't seem very fulfilled. It's kind of interesting to see the whole mundane 9-to-5 job be flipped on its head, and it's somebody doing something that would normally be really exciting, but instead it's kind of just her everyday 9-to-5 job that she doesn't really find that much fulfillment in anymore. And she also had that sequence there where she was opening up to David Harbour's character, the Red Guardian, for a while, and that was really cool to see because it's been a while since we've had a character just kind of pour their heart out in a scene that really hits the audience, I feel like, and that's what good character work's all about. So when you have a character do that, it's really going to tie the audience to them if it's handled very well, and I think it was handled flawlessly in this movie. Somebody that really caught my attention this time was John Walker. John Walker was fantastic in this movie because it would have been really easy to have him just be the butt of the joke, and obviously he was a lot of the time, but it would have been easy for him to just be the character that nobody likes. But they took the time to explore why he is the way he is, and I'm just really upset after this movie about the fact that they wasted him in a Disney Plus series, because I feel like he would have been really well spent in a movie. But even then, they took a character that was probably the best part of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and they turned him into probably top 2 or 3 characters in the Thunderbolts. And I think it's almost ironic how he spent all this time fighting to be Captain America, and then he doesn't get to be Captain America just to end up being put on the new Avengers team anyway and being like their version of Captain America. Ghost, on the other hand, Ghost didn't really do very much in this movie except for kill Taskmaster. And, she wasn't a bad addition to the movie. I understand you got to fill the team out. Her powers are really cool, and I do think she has a pretty good dynamic with everybody in the group. It's just she didn't have as much to work with in this as most everybody else did. Really enjoyed the sequences where she was using her powers because I think it's just interesting to see a new skill set like nobody else in the MCU or any superhero movie for that matter has that power set. Alright, Bucky, the man, the myth, the legend. It's so neat to think about how Bucky has been in every single phase of the MCU. Sebastian Stan has been around for a super long time, and I was never super invested in Bucky. I mean, obviously he's okay, but I kinda see where they were going with the entire him running to be a congressman and him not being very good at it. I'm not sure exactly why he would try to be a congressman. It's never really explained that deeply. He doesn't seem like he really enjoys it, but I guess that makes it all that more satisfying when you see the whole entire sequence. Oh my gosh, that part in the desert was so cool where he's on the motorcycle and he's flipping trucks over and he's doing like his classic Winter Soldier thing with the sunglasses on. That was really cool. I like that was done practically because that really sells like just the cool factor of it. But Bucky in this movie was kind of just to be the legacy character. He's the one that's the most well adjusted, and he's there to kind of help everybody else manage their issues and help everybody see that they can work as a team. And it's just nice to see somebody from that was at least associated with the original Avengers on the new Avengers. The drawing I'm doing right now is of Red Guardian. Obviously it does not bear much resemblance to his personality, as he is the main source of comedic relief in this movie, and I drew him to look like a super tough Soviet Russian soldier, but that's whatever. He's kind of the same case as Yelena is. I've liked him in everything I've seen him in, and I really liked him here too. I thought the bit with the cutoff scream was hilarious, and I really enjoyed watching David Harbour really ham it up. I like David Harbour and everything, but he just does so good as this character. He steals almost every scene that he's in, and I just love the design. I love everything about the Red Guardian. I'm glad that he finally gets to be, a real superhero after all this time. I feel like that's a good bit of clarity that that character really needed. And I was expecting him to be in the movie a little bit more, but I understand that they wanted to kind of flesh out certain characters more than others, and Alexei kind of got a lot of development in Black Widow that they needed to give to some of these other people. And I really liked his limo service. I thought it was funny, the bit where he's trying to turn the limo into its defense mode and it just starts playing the music. That got a pretty big laugh out of me and all my friends when we went to go and watch it. And Bob is a very interesting character. I'm going to be honest, I did not know a single thing about the Sentry going into this movie at all. I knew that he was supposed to be some super powerful guy, and he wore a yellow costume. I did not expect him to fold as well into the Depression allegory as he did. He's kind of like the living embodiment of the Depression that a lot of these characters are facing. I like that they use him as a way to give a window into what everybody else is thinking and feeling, like their problems that they have going on. We only really see him use that on 3 people, that being Valentina, Yelena, and John Walker. But all 3 of those sequences are really put together. If I had any complaints about this movie, is I wish that we could have seen that with all of the characters. But I guess that Bucky and Ghost have already been explored plenty in their traumatic past, so I guess it made sense to just use it on whoever was the most necessary. But Bob was really cool. I really like that he isn't like the main villain and they found a way to beat him outside of punching him a bunch. And obviously we still get this whole entire sequence where there's a superpower battle, but then like the real final battle is the one that takes place in the mind of Bob, and I like that it's kind of used as a way to bring the team together, because like I said, Marvel's strong suit was really just making likable characters with likable actors in the roles, and this is exactly what this movie did. And the Void was really interesting. I'm kind of curious about like what's going on in New York City right now, because obviously you have Kingpin as the mayor in Daredevil right now, and so does that mean that Daredevil and Spider-Man and everybody else are in the middle of dealing with this entire citywide takeover thing, and then next thing you know they're just stuck confronting their worst fears? That's pretty dark. I don't know how well that's gonna tie into future events, if that's gonna get mentioned or not, but it's just something I thought I'd mention because I thought it was pretty interesting to think about. And obviously in the ending we have Valentina has like that aha moment and decides she wants to turn the Thunderbolts into the new Avengers, and I think that was definitely something I was not expecting at all, because this is a very different group of Avengers compared to the ones that we had before. And although their power scaling might not be quite the same, and it might not be the most stacked roster of superheroes, I think what really matters is having a team of characters that the audience really enjoys, and I think the Thunderbolts is exactly that. And I don't think this is a long-term Avengers team. I think it's more or less just a plot point for the next two Avengers movies, where the modern Captain America is probably going to have some issues with this new team before everything starts going downhill with Doctor Doom. And I think that's going to be pretty cool to see unfold. I would almost wish that we would have a movie that was just about the two conflicting Avengers teams, but that's obviously not going to happen because, you know, there's a schedule that Marvel has to follow. And the post-credit scene jumps forward about 14 months, and you get to see the little cameo between the Fantastic Four, just their spaceship at least, and I assume that the way this next Avengers movie will work is they will probably pair the Fantastic Four up with the new Avengers, and then Sam Wilson's Avengers will end up working together, and it'll be like an Infinity War situation where everybody's working from separate teams. If there was going to be a movie that kind of got me more excited for what Marvel has to do, it's probably Thunderbolts, because I think this movie succeeded in pretty much everything that Marvel's been failing at lately. And if they could keep making movies like this, even if it's only 1 or 2 a year, I'm going to keep going, because it is such a breath of fresh air to see Marvel actually do well in the cinemas for once in a really long time. And overall, I'm excited to see where the story goes. This kind of gets me a little hyped up for Avengers Doomsday and Fantastic Four and Avengers Secret Wars and all these other things that come out. What do you think about Thunderbolts? Comment down below, let me know, because I'm super excited to talk about this. It is really refreshing to talk about a Marvel movie that I like. But I'd like to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to watch me draw and talk about some stuff. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. And until the next time, I guess I will see you later. Bye bye.